Welcome to the EatingCast. I am Chris.
And I'm Vincent, and today we are joined by Alan Z, triple threat. We got a singer, rapper, songwriter, plus an actor, and I actually recently just learned that term, triple threat. I didn't know that was a thing. But welcome, Alan. How are you?
Thanks, man. I'm good, man. How are you guys?
Pretty good. Alan, we just want to thank you for coming on. It's there's trying times out there right now, and just kind of like taking a little bit of time out of your day to just kind of like hang out and talk with us. It's definitely an honor.
Appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Alan, are you originally from Atlanta? Where are you from?
No, man. I actually moved around a lot. So I was born in China. Then I moved to England when I was 4, Singapore when I was 5. And then I moved to the States when I was 6. I moved to Maryland first, and then Seattle. And then I went to college in Atlanta at Emory University. So that's when I kind of wanted to make Atlanta like my base, because Seattle wasn't really big on like mainstream music, especially hip hop. So for me, I know I had to leave to get like my name out there in a bigger way. So Atlanta was like the first stop, and it just kind of became like this. For a long time, it was like home for me. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I mention it so much, because it definitely molded me as a person.
Did you come here by yourself, or did you come with family?
Oh, so yeah, I came with family. So
Okay.
my dad was always like moving jobs and stuff. So me and my
Right.
mom would just follow him.
Okay. That's interesting. How did you manage that? Like moving all the time and adjusting and adapting, like what was that like for you?
I think it was kind of a toll on my, I guess, like just my childhood, because like when you're growing up, you get like, as you're growing up, you get used to certain things so that you can I guess like become accustomed as an adult. But for me, because I was moving so much, I never had like a normalcy. Like, because in Maryland, I was around nothing but Black and Latino kids, and
Hmm.
I moved to Seattle, and it was nothing around like white people. So for me, nothing was normal. I always had to adjust, and it made me super awkward and just very shy as a kid, because I just didn't know how to be myself really, until I just ventured out and just moved on my own for college. So it definitely took a toll, because it's like when you're always the new kid on the block, you're constantly judged, you're constantly scrutinized,
Hmm.
and yeah. So
And what age did you come here from China?
I was 4 when I moved to England. So I didn't
Okay.
live in China long. It was
Right.
mainly just
Okay.
just like my super young toddler years. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was gonna ask, my next follow-up question would have been like, what was the culture like from there, right? And then you learning it from England and then to America and whatnot. But so with the whole scrutiny, do you experience that in the music culture too? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like you are Asian, and hip hop tends to be for the Black community, and I wonder how that was for you or is for you.
I would say it's kind of similar to how I was growing up, because when I was growing up, like I faced a lot of like racism and a
Mhm.
lot of bullying and stuff, right? And in music, I face a lot of discrimination too. It's sometimes it's not as overt, but I've had a lot of experiences where I'll lose out on an opportunity because like an higher up would be like, "Oh, he's Asian. I don't want to do it," and it's like and it'll just constantly happen to a point where I can expect it. I'm just like, someone's like, "Oh, this guy's interested in you," and I'm like, "Okay," and then it gets to the point where it's like something can happen, and be like, "Oh, he's Asian," and then I'm just like, "Oh, fuck you guys." So for me, it made me a lot more resilient, because here I am, right, as a kid who just loves hip hop and R&B and just wants to be like the star, coming into this, super dark industry with these like, puppy eyes and whatever, and then to be crushed every single time because you're told you don't belong, which is something we hear a lot as Asian people in this
Right.
country. So for me, it's almost like the belonging in hip hop for me is just as conditional as it is in the States. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So like all the the no's that I've heard and all the judgmental stuff that I've heard, and just having to constantly defend, I guess, like our people, like in front of non-Asians, it made me a lot like more just careful around people. I'm very like I'm usually on guard unless I'm around like other Asians, you know what I'm saying, like, or
Yeah.
around friends that know me enough to know, yo, don't check Alan, because we'll check you because we've known him for so long. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, long story short, it definitely made me a lot more like resilient, and like my perseverance is really high. It's like, because I've been in this game for so long, and every stride I make, I count that towards like the final goal, which is, to become a household name and to, like pretty much be a representation for Asian Americans,
I like that. And what was your first, what was your first in everything in regards to the music industry?
Could you explain that? What do you mean?
Yeah, so like first, I guess first time setting foot into that, making your first song, first performance. Yeah, like your intro, your journey.
Okay. Yeah. So I would say I had a like early intro, just trying out music when I was in middle school, because that's when me and my friend at the time, we made like a demo tape, and we would just sell that around school. I did talent shows and stuff. I auditioned for like local record labels, and people wanted to sign me and stuff because like, oh, you're like a prodigy. You're like so much better than Lil Bow Wow, and nothing, came about. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of talk. But I would say I really started to take music seriously in college. So that's when I would, like start getting recruited by like certain record labels. Like they would start like offering certain things because I was in the studio. I was around in Atlanta. Like it was kind of like you can mingle with certain people that can get you into certain places. But I don't know. I would definitely say, even though those first, I guess, instances happened, it wasn't until I took my career into my own hands that I really started making moves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's actually really interesting. So like with kind of like your background, kind of like your passion kind of growing, especially in like the whole like hip hop community and everything like that. And like, struck, like a little mixtape and everything like that. And it was in middle school, you said? Yeah. So like from that like kind of aspect, like what was your like immediate support structure kind of like, like your family, like what did your parents think about, you pursuing like kind of like a creative route, right? Compared to like how I'm assuming like because like my parents like this and like a lot of my other friends like this, like they want you to come here, right? And then you do your you do your duties and then you do your time and then you're doing like your doctor, your lawyer, and other kind of jobs like that.
So at first when I was younger, like my parents didn't support it just because I was dumb. I was like, I'm gonna drop out of school and become a rapper, which is like the stupidest thing you can say to an Asian parent. So they were really against it, and I would just kind of hide how much I loved to rap from them until I went to college. And then they started seeing me like deposit money into my account, and they were just like, "Where are you getting this money?" They're like, "Are you selling drugs?" And then it's like, "No, I was winning rap battles. I was going to battles. You know what I'm saying? I was, selling like CDs and shit." And I would tell them like, "Hey, this A&R from this record label was interested in me," and I showed them like the emails. I'm like, "Hey, this guy who worked with this person is interested in me." So they would start seeing all these little things happen for me, and it's like people consistently saying, "Your son is really talented. He has something special." So for them, it's like, okay, we can either reject him and just, because he's not the model Asian son, or we can embrace him for the fact that he's someone who is brave enough to try something different. And I think for me also, I do, I guess, value my parents enough to like listen to them in the sense of like, okay, I got my bachelor's degree. I got like, like I did go to a corporate, I did get a corporate job like coming out of college because, I want to just support myself. So I worked at Amazon for 2 years. So it's like, I wasn't dumb and being like, oh, I'm just going to live up music. Like I knew it wasn't like immediate. Right. So even if I was doing all this stuff in music and I had all these different like opportunities, I never was naive enough to think, oh, this is gonna pay off immediately. Like I know how this stuff works. It's such a slow grind. You get fucked over so many times in the industry. Like people in the industry see you as a lick. Like you show so much love, and they look at you like, oh, I'm gonna come up off this kid.
Yeah.
So for me, knowing this, I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna feed into this whole like, this is my dream. I'm gonna like, I was like, I'm gonna do this in a very realistic way. Yeah. As Asian as that sounds, I'm gonna make sure I have my feet, 10 toes down, ready to take on both the music industry and also provide for myself, So I think with that level-headedness, they were like more willing to support me. And now they're like, my parents are like my biggest supporters,
Yeah, I know that's how they are, right? Once they see money rolling in.
Yeah. And then, later on, as you guys probably know, like once I started doing music for like TV shows like Netflix and like all these like, CW, and then they start seeing actual like, tangible, what I'm saying, income, it's like, it makes a difference. It's like, okay, well, you're building that legacy. It's not just like you're putting music on SoundCloud and calling yourself an artist.
SoundCloud rapper.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
you're crossing over that bridge. And I think that's what's so important about making sure your imprint is big enough
Hmm.
for I guess people to see.
I was gonna ask, so how does that work when a movie or a TV show wants to use your music? Like, how did you have an agent working? Like, how did that? What does that look like?
Well, I have a producer who's I guess he's tied in with certain like supervisors.
Mm,
So I
okay.
just make the music with him, and then he pitches it to certain like I guess people in those positions. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to do more of that. It's called sync licensing. So it's just um, like with TV shows and movies, they need the rights for certain music, and they can just take your shit and just be like, it's like a licensing thing. It's like they're
Right.
licensing the rights to use it. So that's something I got into around 2017,
Okay.
and that's something that I still do to this day. Just because it's fun for me to write music for like a TV show
Mhm.
or a movie.
Is that something like they pay you one time, or every time they use it, they pay you?
So usually you get an advance check, and then you start paying
Oh,
you residually, like quarterly. So.
oh, I see. That's
Mhm.
awesome. That's cool. So yeah, you did Wu Assassins. That's like your most notable work, right? Wu Assassins and
Yeah.
was it Repulse Star as well?
Yeah, so I did also a song that got placed on iZombie. That was like a show on the CW, also on Netflix now.
Mm,
I've done some like music for like web series, like independent movies and stuff like that. And I'm definitely trying to do more. There's like a couple in the works now as well.
mhm. And you know what's crazy? These are the kind of things people don't think about. Like you're just chasing your passion. You're just doing music because you like it, and then these opportunities land at your feet, right? It's not like you started and you're like, I want to make music for TV shows, right? It just kind of
Yeah,
happens.
yeah. I mean, I didn't even know that was a thing until my producer introduced me to it. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't know the process, and he was like, "Oh, this is how you do it." But yeah, it's an interesting route. But I mean, my goal still is to be like a household name. That's still like the number one thing. But I also know in order to jump to that level, there's certain things you gotta do, to support yourself to get there.
Mhm. What is your, I guess, your vision, your mission? Like, what is your platform going to be about? What are you trying to build? I know you're saying your household name, but and you want to break barriers as an Asian American. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of see myself like in like a Asian version of like Donald Glover, just because I do
Mm,
music and film. So my dream platform wouldn't just be like an artist because that would be boring as fuck. um, I would definitely want to be the person to be like, okay, I want to drop an album. Okay, I'll drop an album. I want to be in this movie. Okay, I'm gonna be in this movie. I want to fucking do stand up. Okay, let Alan do stand up because I'm so fucking creative that no one can say no because I'm giving you so many different viable means of my brand. Like I can sell with this venture, I can sell with this venture, but it all ties back to Alan Z as this one cohesive
mm,
commodity. So that's my dream because um, I don't know. For me, I think uh, just being an artist, it's not enough to encompass like my entire personality. So that's why I like to do other stuff as well, and I can remind people like, I do other stuff. I act as well, trying
mhm.
to do screenwriting and shit like that.
Yeah. And that's a cool thing, right? Just being a student all the time, just learning. Yeah.
For
And
sure.
then
Yeah.
trying to put stuff out.
It's definitely like diversifying like your portfolio as well as like, yourself, because it's really throwing you into a lot of different avenues in which you can like really express yourself, right? Like you can express yourself through music, you can express yourself through like acting, right? Whether it's like a comedy drama or like an action film and everything like that. And then even like from there, right? It's like these are obviously like all like in that realm of like acting or like what you call an artist, right? And then you can also from there like diversify into more other business-esque like brands as well, which is actually
For
really
sure.
cool.
Yeah, because for me, I found that just kind of like what you said about testing shit out. Okay, so when I decided I want to take acting more seriously, what I did was I started writing my own skits, right? And I was like, okay, if my fans say I can't act, then fuck it. But then the first like skit that I did, it like caught on, and like it was like it went semi-viral, and then some influencer posted it, and it should have like 100,000 views in a day. So I was like, oh shit, okay. And then so I started making more and more skits, and people were like, you got to do more skits, you're so funny, you're so funny. But it was my secret way of being like, I want to act, but I don't know if you're gonna accept it. So I did it just I just threw it in there, and then now people actually expect me to do more. And then when I say that I want to act, like I get more offers as far as roles, and then people will be like, oh, I want to see you do this. So now I'm opening that lane for myself, you know. So same thing with music, you know, like when I was just a rapper, I wanted to kind of sing too. So I kind of like slipped that in there in the hook. And when I saw the reception, that's when I kind of slowly like rolled it out, you know. So, and kind of like what you said, it's like, you know, just making sure that it sticks to your brand, but also diversifying yourself enough to know that you can put out any kind of content that, you know, is within that.
Mm-hmm. What do you normally write about for singing or for your songs? What do you like to?
Okay, so I would say like I'm like a lover and a fighter, right? So the lover side is obviously the singing side. That's like the R&B, the pop. Singing, obviously, you know, it's more about like, you know, women. It's about like love, like, you know, trying to get this girl or breakups and different types of, you know, just typical R&B stuff, like, you know, like sex, all that stuff. But the nitty gritty, I would say, is like the fighter side. That's like the side that I fight for. That's like, you know, talking about the Asian American identity, like me as a rapper, as a battle rapper, the stuff that I've been through in my childhood. That's all the Eminem-esque content. You know what I'm saying? So I combine those because it's like, if I was just a singer, right, and I made all these like pop-friendly, radio-friendly songs, there's no edge.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was just a rapper, there's, you know, and I just did all these like, you know, super hard songs and like lyrical songs, there's no commercial viability, which is why like when people tell me to do either or, I'm like, you're fucking stupid, because if I have both and I can Drake the fuck out of this, I'm going to Drake the fuck out of this. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, so I'd say like those two sides, even though they're very different, I think it represents the yin and the yang of me. It's like, okay, this is one side of me, and then the other side. The duality makes a complete me, you know?
Yeah. And your inspirations, would you say Eminem, Donald Glover, who else?
Michael Jackson, The Weeknd, Chris Brown, Rakim, Tupac, Big Pun, a lot of like 90s rappers, you know what I'm saying? Like Dead Prez, Raz Kaz, Michael Jackson, Trey Songz, people like that. You know, I'm really big on like 90s and 2000s music. That's kind of like what molded me as an artist.
Can I ask what year you were born in?
No, I'm a 90s kid.
90s kid, okay.
Yeah.
Dang, that's crazy.
I think you're like the youngest one out of the bunch, dude.
What was that?
Oh,
yeah,
I think
I am.
Vince is like the youngest one out of the bunch. Because I think he's what, you're like 95?
95?
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that millennial or is that Gen Z?
I
think it like millennial still.
Yeah, millennial.
I'm pretty sure it's still millennial.
God.
So 96 is the cutoff.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
I
don't want to be associated with those kids that eating Tide Pods.
Right.
Fucking licking toilet bowls when it was like COVID. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, when that.
Fucking stupid.
Yeah. Speaking of which, man, like it feels like right now, you know, it's like one thing after another, right? We had COVID attacking, and then there's like Asian people getting attacked, and then we have the Black Lives Matter movement. And I saw you posted a song, right? You wrote a piece about that. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I did a piece for Instagram and Facebook, you know, like just Asians for Black Lives, just in support of what's going on. Just because I think one thing I've really started to take notice of recently is just this idea of responsibility as an artist, because it's like, you know, like hip hop is a Black art form, and I recognize that predominantly my fan base right now is Black. I've a lot of who I am has been motivated for the fact that I've spent so much time in the Black community. You know what I'm saying? Just growing up and being like a part of, you know, that world. That I was like, their issues are my issues. You know, so I think it's me saying, look, this is where I stand, and if people, you know, don't agree and they don't like it, then, you know, whatever. Because it's like I had to take a stand, because it's like this is important to me, and so you know, I had to say something, because I feel like it's something that affects me directly, because it's like that could have been like a close friend of mine. That could have been somebody that I knew, you know, just because I'm so close into that community, that's like it feels personal. And you know, I was glad that you know, I could do something where like people were actually like thanking me, even though I was like, no, don't thank me. I'm like, it's just me doing what needs to be done. You know, I'm not trying to take credit for this shit. But it was cool. Like, I rapped over the Dead Prez beat, hip hop, and Stick from Dead Prez, like he heard it, and so he commented, he's like, "Yo, bro, like I appreciate the sentiment," and he followed me. We talked like a little bit afterwards. So that's
awesome.
something I could have never imagined, because it's like, you know, he's one of my idols, you know, him and M1. So for him to even just find it, it's just feel like, yo, bro, I like it. It's like, it's the biggest honor, you know. It's like you don't think about that stuff like that happening as a kid, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, even for me personally, like I'm diving into that journey where like learning more about my history, educating myself, because same thing with you, a lot of things that inspired me are from, you know, the Black community too, right? Some of my mind mentality and the way I go about life, it's kind of molded by those people too. So yeah, I think you're right. Asian people should stand up, especially speak up, especially in this time. Yeah. That's why when
Yeah.
I think I commented, I said that spoke to me, you know, what you did, and you motivated me to write a piece too. So
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something, or like a time where we as like, you know, Asians do definitely need to kind of like speak up, right? Because we're, at least in the States, right, we're seen as more of like a timid and like an outspoken, like, you know, group. But in reality, you know, it's like that's not really the case. You know, like we're just labeled that, you know, in a way where it's like, you know, we're labeled as the model minority. Why can't you be more like these people, you know, where they are achieving like so much, right? And in reality of it is like, it's really hard to find that like the fine line, you know, where we really fit in, right? Because like we're labeled as the model minority, but yet we know we're not necessarily like, you know, we don't fit in, right? We kind of walk this really thin line, right, between like the white populace as well as like the Black community. It's a really weird dynamic that we got to deal with, right? Because like we're being idolized, and yet we also get like, in a sense, shit on. You know, like for instance, like when the whole COVID thing started, it's like we were also seen as like a disease, if you will. You know, like people were scared of us because like they're like, oh, we don't want to catch this. Oh, it's killing so many people. You know, and then like that's when we were like, as the model minority, right? We were now tossed back down into like this whole, in the same like, you know, bucket, right, as everyone else.
So, okay, so yeah, it's interesting you said that, because I've always hated the model minority myth.
Yeah.
Because it literally, all it fucking does is make everyone hate us while we're still treated like shit by white people. So it's like, bitch, if you're gonna give me privilege, at least let me get into the white society. You know what I'm saying? So for me, being somebody who's been also in the suburbs and being treated like shit, I know that's not true. You get what I'm saying? So when people say that about us being honorary white, I get so angry, because I'm like, if you can see how many white people have done me wrong, you would not. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? A lot of Asian people have been in those positions, and it sucks because people are so stupid when it comes to like, I guess like conventional wisdom, where they hear something from someone and then it catches on, and they're like, oh, this is Asians, and it's like what you said is like, we're used as a pawn in this black and white power struggle, right? And I think now is a time where we as Asian Americans are trying to figure out who we are. Like we're trying to figure out, we're realizing we're neither white and we're neither black. So proximity to whiteness or blackness doesn't help either of us, because we're not like, we don't fit that little dichotomy, because we are our own people. So I think like there's a lot of confusion right now in the Asian American identity. Like there's so many different sects of like Asians and how they're thinking right now, right? So there's like the sellouts, right? The Trump supporters and whatever, which is a small group, but it's, you know, still a thing. Then there's like the people that are like really pandering hard to what's going on with the black community, so much so that they're shitting on their own people. And then there's like also a group like myself who understands and loves my people, but also have love for other ethnicities. And I think that this, not to say that I'm like the best version of the Asian whatever, but it's like that's the goal that I think we should all strive to be. Not like me, but like in a sense of like, let's love who we are, love our roots, find out who we are and our identity and our history, but also find compassion and love for other communities. You know what I'm saying? And it's a struggle right now because I think a lot of Asian kids, they're just confused, man. Like whenever I hear Asian kids, like the boba liberals, man, I hate them so much.
Boba liberals.
They're the fucking worst because they're so fucking stupid. Like,
Wait. What's
like
boba liberal?
They're like the fucking miso sorry of like this generation. Like they're so pushovers, man. And like I see it and I get so angry because it's like the way I see our positioning is we'll never be honorary whites. We'll never have this sense of privilege that these boba liberals think that we have, because what privilege is there when your belonging is conditional? You get what I'm saying? It's like, what kind of, just because, okay, fucking you come from a nuclear household or you're middle class, what the fuck does that have to do with anything when you're in school and someone calls you a chink and you're getting bullied throughout high school? That doesn't mean shit. That's not privilege. That's still you being othered. So I get really angry when all these dumb kids have no idea what they're fucking talking about, because maybe they live the better lives than me or you, but it's like, if you only knew how Asian people are treated in this country, you would not be a fucking pushover and let people tell you who you are, you know?
Definitely.
Rant over.
No, I like that. Because I don't know if you saw the Asian American docuseries on PBS.
Yes.
But I saw the first episode, and I didn't know, like, well, I had an idea, but like, you know, for most of us Asians and Asian Americans, the best thing for us to do was to just side with what was safe, right? It was just to be. I remember clearly they said, in order to survive, we cannot be black, because look at what's happening to them. We cannot be black. So let's just be more white and let's take the safe route and let's see what happens, right? And then this is the result. Like, you know, from generation to generation, you can see becoming more boba liberals.
And that's also kind of like where the whole like idea of like, you know, we're more timid kind of comes from, right? Because we tend to side more with like let's stay away from this conflict. Let's, like, you know, not really involve ourselves and everything like that. Let's just stay quiet. Let this blow over, you know, and then we're going to come right back. That's kind of like a problem with a lot of Asian Americans, especially Asian Americans. Like, you see that a lot compared to like other Asians that are like, you know, from like, you know, whether like China, Singapore, Korea, and everything like that, because they don't have to deal with the whole like power struggle, right? Of like being like a minority in a white dominant like society, right? They're living in their own like society and everything like that, where they're the norm and they don't deal with these struggles,
right?
And it's just really interesting that it's like it's so skewed how, you know, our same people are so different whether you're born here or you're from home.
That's why I kind of like always tell people, like, you gotta differentiate the Asian American with the Asian from overseas. And there's like so many dumb people that don't get it. So when they like throw stupid statistics like, oh, this is happening in China, this is happening in Korea, I'm like, motherfucker, what the fuck does that have to do with me, a guy living in Atlanta? I can't fucking control what's happening in Asia, bitch. Like, it makes me so angry because like you throw that back at them wherever the fuck their continent's from, and then they're like, oh, but I'm not like them. Exactly. And it's so annoying because it goes back into the perpetual foreigner syndrome that we have. It's like, no matter what, they're like, oh, it doesn't matter because your roots are, you're still It's like, yes, we understand our roots. We still speak Korean, Mandarin, Japanese, whatever, but we're also, our Americanness cannot be silenced. And that's what people want to do so bad, is like group us all together so that we're at fault for whatever, you know. And the issue with that is like a lot of Asian people from foreign places and whatever, they don't think like us, because like you said, because it's so homogenous, they don't have to deal with the power struggles. They don't have to deal with, you know, feeling like the other. So they'll never understand what it's like for us. Like, for example, Great Wall was a fucking success in China. For us, we hated it because of Matt Damon. But like with them, it's like, oh, finally a white person. Yeah. So it's like, if we can't agree on the fact that whitewashing is bad, I have nothing to say to you.
That's like the first step.
Like, we can go eat hot pot later. But like, as far as racism, I don't want to discuss that with someone from, you know what I'm saying? Like, that isn't American or Canadian or Australian or part of the Western diaspora. You know what I'm
saying? I remember we interviewed someone from Hong Kong during the protests, and we talked about the power struggle, and we talked about this kind of discrimination. And they're like, I think that's more of an Asian American thing. We don't experience that. And I was like, that like just shut me out, because I was like, oh shit, I guess not, huh? I guess that is like completely changed, you know.
You know what's so crazy about that is, like, if they were their parents' age, I bet you they would say something different, because that British colonial rule was a bitch. So the fact that these kids growing up that were free from it from 1997 on, you know, where you know, the British took away that. It's like, yo, you don't understand how bad that shit was for you guys. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Mm.
I don't want to get too deep into the whole pro HK whatever shit.
Yeah.
But in terms of what happened to them before, it's like they treated you like, what was the term? Sick man of Asia. That's what he called you guys. So it's like, bro, this shit is deep. Like colonialism, when it comes to like how the colonialized Hong Kong, India, the Philippines, Macau from Portugal. You know what I'm saying? It's like European values are so ingrained in us that we don't even know how much our values resemble theirs because of how much they fucked over our people. And so looking into history is our best glimpse into how we can improve as people moving forward, because a lot of the stuff is that we're taught isn't even our values. You know what I'm saying? It sucks because this isn't common knowledge. Like they don't teach this in US history, but it's like the shit that has been done to Asians. Even if you think about like, wanting fairer skin and, all this bullshit, it's Eurocentric values, man. It's stupid, but it's a lot of unlearning we have to do and a lot of learning we have to do to move forward.
Yeah. And I remember one time my fiance was asking Rachel, she was asking, why do Asian girls love to powder up, And I was like, well, they want to be more white looking because that not only symbolizes purity, but also power. And if, like you said, if you go back to history, right, who had power, who was labeled as beautiful and pretty and, put on a pedestal, right? Europeans, the white people. So, and yeah, there was a whole power struggle with that too. Cause like if you had tans, dark skin, then that means you worked on the land, right? You did agriculture. So shit like that. And I think it's great that it's like a double-edged sword that, these kind of movements like Black Lives Matter and COVID, like these things happen. The positive thing that I think that's happening is it's waking people up. It's making people like us ask questions. It's making us realize like, oh shit, it is deeper than we think. Like we need to understand our roots, because like you said, we understand our roots, then we can better understand ourselves and what role we actually play in America.
That's so true. Yeah, no, that's so true. And it's interesting because like I've never heard someone actually like put it into perspective of power when it comes to the fair skin, but it makes a lot of sense. You know what I'm saying? Because for me, it was always like, I've always heard like fair skin means, like you said, it's you're more inclined to be like, I guess, upper class because you don't have to work in the fields. You know what I'm saying? But it's a lot of toxic, I think, I guess, thinking that needs to be undone. Even if you look at India, right? It's like all the people in Bollywood don't look like half the population in India. You know what I'm saying? Like all the dark-skinned Indians don't really get roles. It's like all the ones that look more, I guess, lighter and stuff. And I don't know.
That's the same
like you said,
Black community, isn't it? Like light skin.
Yeah, colorism is huge, man. Colorism is so big. But then you have white people trying to tan to look like us. It's so weird.
It's like, what the fuck? What do you want?
So confusing.
Yeah.
So it's like as soon as one thing changes, right? It's like a whole nother thing takes over. It's like, oh, we want to stay, light skinned and everything like that. So I'm gonna go out and walk in an umbrella. Oh wait, now I want to go ahead and tan. So like, let's go ahead and get darker. Such a weird. I don't know. It's really just weird in my opinion.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
What so Alan, so what how are you trying to play, like what's your role in this then?
My role
in these educating moments, what is your role?
I mean, whenever I can, really. It's just like whenever I can use my platform to shed light, I will. But I know I'm not really the kind of person to like make Facebook posts after Facebook posts like, this is what's going on, because no one fucking listens. So it's like, if I'm given the chance to talk, then I will. But if not, I'm going to continue to grow my brand so I can keep doing stuff like this,
Yeah.
And I'm not a teacher. I'm not an educator. I'm not an activist. I'm just somebody who's super passionate about who I am and like the community, you know what I'm saying, and what I believe in. So that's I guess my stance on it. I'm not gonna like act like I'm some, like you said, like educating. I mean, I don't even know if I'm like, I don't know if I'm qualified for it, but I just know as I learn, I like to tell people. Like, so like you said, with that documentary, as soon as I watched it, I'm like, I call my friends and I'm like, bro, you got to watch this. This shit gets deep. There's certain things I didn't know.
White as fuck.
Not like that. But, it's just like, yo, like you gotta learn some shit, some trauma, and
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that's my train of thought. I was gonna say, actually, yeah. So now that you have a platform, right? You being who you are, and you have the spotlight on you, you inspire people, you encourage people by just doing what you're doing, right? Like you deciding to learn more for yourself will, and people who see that they're like, oh shit, I want to learn too. So yeah,
Thanks, man.
you're in a powerful position, believe it or not.
Appreciate it, man. I appreciate that.
Hmm.
And I think I'm trying to do that not just for our community, but just for other people that may listen to me too. You know, because
Hmm.
it's like you said, this whole, I guess, imperialism doesn't just affect Asians; it affects other minorities too. So it's like the more we learn about ourselves, the more we learn about how we are used as pawns to be played against each other, so that like there can be less division. You know, so for me, it's like learning about the model minority myth and how we were used as a racial wedge between us and the Black community. You know what I'm saying? How we're like constantly used as this prop that can be, you know, brought down or pedestaled at any time. It's something we have to know, because it's like that's when you know that this I guess idea of who they made you seem like it's a fake, it's a false identity. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So once you know more about yourself, you can't be played as easily. And for a long time, I feel like it's the model minority myth worked because they preyed on Asian values. For example, like they say, if you work hard, you'll get what you want in this country. That's the Asianest shit I've ever fucking heard. Like meritocracy is so fucking Asian. The fact that he can play that card means that, you know what I'm saying? Like it's manipulative, because a lot of hardworking Asians will be like, oh, you know, I did it too. And it's like, but you don't know the bigger cards, you know, at hand. So, but once you know your history, it's like you can't trick you. You know, you start
That's definitely
realizing,
true.
yeah,
Yeah, because like especially for like our parents, right? Like the ones that kind of like brought us over here. I would actually say like they're the definition of like work hard, because they're the ones that like even to this day, like I'll even say like my dad, like honestly from the mid to late 70s, from when he actually came to the States with my grandfather and my uncle, from then all the way to now, like he's been nonstop working. You know, like that's the thing where it's like you don't really like. I mean, I guess I started to learn to appreciate it more as I got older. You know, because like it's definitely a sacrifice, right? Because like for my entire life that I can recall, right, he's worked 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, and it's like he never had the chance to really pursue his passions. He's never really had the chance to say, "Oh, I'm going to do this instead of this," because he couldn't. He had to support his family, and that's just really like now like as I said, like as I got older, it's like really it really left a mark on me, right? It's like really influencing me to like to actually do more, right? That's why like I'm able to do like what I'm able to do at work, right? Like I'm able to do these shit hours, just because like my dad did it. I can't complain about this little tiny thing,
for sure.
no, and
I,
it's just crazy.
I think what also sucks about, I guess, the Asian American, I guess, positioning even in the workforce is there's not a lot of like Asian American CEOs. There's not a lot of Asians in executive positions. So like, if you want to talk about the modern minority myth, we also have to talk about the bamboo ceiling. So when people talk about, oh, Asian people, they make so much money, bitch. We're not fucking the bosses. You know what I'm saying? That's the issue. Is like, yo, even if you get into like a high position in terms of like the actual corporate ladder, it's never in a position where you're in a position of power. They'll make you do all the fucking work, and then they'll write their names on your shit and call it their own. So it's like, even still, it's like partial access to this American dream or whatever. So, and this is at the highest core, So, like you said, and it sucks because like just kind of like picking back what you're saying about your dad. It's like a lot of fathers, including my father, was like somebody who worked super hard, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like it's never like with like say like a white guy or whatever, right? Like he can go from lower entry into like maybe like the executive board within 5 years or whatever, because he was on track for it, because he's plays golf with the fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like it's different.
Yeah.
So even still, that's something to be discussed as well. It's like this system doesn't really benefit us. It kind of puts us in a complacent place, but it never puts us in a place of actual comfort over where we can actually live comfortably, and not have to sacrifice our passions and, you know.
I feel like that's also kind of like, in a sense, imprinted on us at a very young age too, because like the way you actually described that like whole you know, the whole workforce and everything like that, how, you know, we're the ones doing all the work, right, and then they just sign off their name on it, on the project or whatever it may be. That, I feel like that immediately goes, like, off the top of my head, that just went straight back to like, you know, middle school, high school times. We had like group projects, right? Because like we're I hate to say it like this, but like we're conditioned by our parents to get good grades. You know, so even if like, you know, the other members of the group didn't put in work, we still did majority of it because we couldn't go home with a bad grade. Yeah, exactly. It's like we couldn't do that.
So funny.
And then like at the end of the day, you know, it's like they get a ride along in this group project, and then, you know, we're the ones doing a lot of the work. It's crazy how that kind of like, they mirror so perfectly. At least from like my personal experience, it mirrors like pretty accurately from like elementary school, high school, not really college, just because like, you know, I had more say in that, but like and definitely in like elementary school and high school. And then now kind of talking about how like the whole corporate world's kind of like operating, how they have like all these people under them just kind of like doing a lot of the work, and then like, you know, them putting their names on the project, saying like, oh yeah, this is what we ended up doing.
Yep, exactly.
It's, my brain just exploded just now. Holy shit.
You know what pisses me off though? It's like when people make that argument where like, oh yeah, you know, Asian people have the highest income, and look, a bunch of them own businesses and stuff. Like, yeah, sure, but until we see that our own people can make like policies even, or make actual change to society in ways that like benefit the community, that argument is invalid. Because yeah, like it's still like a fucking shit show, like you said, like that bamboo ceiling. Like, we're working our asses off for what?
Dude, and the crazy thing that they don't realize is like we don't have like barely any political power. So like this thing about what you said about making policies, we don't have that fucking power. Like that's the reason why like virtual signaling for us almost never works. When people like do this whole like bandwagoning social justice, it's like never for Asians because it doesn't benefit their social clout. You get what I'm saying? So like that's how you know our voices are still silenced. So like, you know, from the politics to being misrepresented in the media, those are, even though people don't like see it as a big of a deal as like say like income, it's big because it silences us. So when people say, oh, Asian people, you don't speak up, how the fuck would you know? I hate when people use that excuse and they say like we don't speak up, and it's like you don't follow like Asians Never Die, you don't follow Jackfruit, you don't follow Jackfruit. So shut the fuck up. How the fuck would you know if all you're following is the fucking shade room? Yeah, it's like you don't follow any Asian media, that you have the fucking the fucking balls to say Asians don't talk about this and that. You don't fucking look enough, and it's like they're so quick to say it, you know. And I've gotten to a point where like if I feel like I'm not getting through you, I'm just gonna block you on my site. Bro. I'm gonna call you stupid, so you read that I think you're stupid, and then I'm gonna block you.
Bro, so I just met the neighbor like literally 2 days ago, and we were talking about, you know, the things that happened with George Floyd and the Asian cop, and she was like, she's definitely like an all lives matter kind of person.
White lady, or
yeah, she's white. Yeah, white lady. But she was like, yeah, so how come when, you know, it's crazy that the minority Asian people are minorities, right? So how come he just stood there and like the Asian community didn't say anything about that? I'm like, hold on. Yes, we did. Yes, we fucking did. The Asian community did condemn that motherfucker. Like, and that's just, you know, backing up what you're saying, Alan. Like, they don't follow this shit. They're not in our community. They don't know. And they just make these assumptions, and then and these assumptions by white people are strong as fuck. So, you know, what they say, what they do, what they assume even adds on to our silence. Invalidates us.
It's so funny you say that, because it's like the more people reinforce that we don't speak up, it silences us further. You know what I'm saying? And this is what frustrates me too, is when Asian people do it to other Asians. I'm like, and it's like, I've seen this, I don't want to call out names because I started working in this business, but I'll see Asian influencers like throwing shots at the Asian community saying we don't speak up enough. And it's like, motherfucker, you don't speak up enough. You're dragging your own people, but you don't say nothing when shit happens to us. So for me, it's like this virtual signaling that people want, it's like so selfish, because it's like, instead of you using your platform to benefit your own community, you want to get your dick stroked, and and get people to rally for you, and and shit in the process, shit on your own people. And so there's a lot of, I don't know, it's deeper than just a black and white issue. It's like, it happens to us too. Asian people we do the same thing to our own people just so we get pedestaled by others. And it's like, it's so fucking stupid. Because
can you explain what virtual signaling is for those who don't know what that is?
Yeah, and it's totally fine if you didn't know, because I didn't know until like recently. but basically, it's like it's kind of like trying to show that you're doing the right thing, but like publicly, like like signaling, hey, I'm doing a virtue. I'm doing a good deed. Hey, I'm donating. Hey, I'm better than these other Asians. I'm better than this my other race. It's kind of like making yourself look like like a good Samaritan. It's kind of like signaling that. Like bandwagoning, like
right, just like clout, right? For clout.
Clout, yeah. It's like good deed clout almost, yeah.
Cool, yeah. We got lots to learn, man. That's for sure. Lots to learn, a lot of questions to be asked and answered. Okay, so moving forward, what's next for you, man?
A bunch of stuff, man. I'm working on a lot of like music projects. I got a few like just virtual gigs lined up, panels, just while we're still stuck in in this whole pandemic. But I'm definitely trying to open up once like the road opens up. I'm definitely trying to like actually take my show on the road like I've been planning, so I can do shows, events.
Come to Chicago, man.
Huh?
Come to Chicago. That's where we are. We'll see you.
Hey man, if you guys can book me somewhere, man, I'm definitely down. If you guys can work something out where I can come, I'm definitely down. But yeah,
I'm sure Vince has some.
I'll figure something out.
Okay, cool, man. Let's do it. I definitely want to come to Chicago for sure.
Yeah.
As long as I'm safe. Because
honest, like this is also another reason why like we started like the whole TheEatingCast, because we're a Chicago-based podcast, and we just, besides the point of like just kind of building bridges and kind of connecting people that would not necessarily talk to each other, so that they have a voice and sharing their own unique individual story. We want to show that Chicago is not as bad as media paints it out to be, right? Because like I'm assumptions, and also from like what I've seen personally, like Chicago's painted as like a failed city. It's painted as like a complete like downturn in terms of violence, and like there's nothing but violence here. But that's just not true, right? There's violence in all big cities, right? There's shootings in all big cities. But there's also the prettier side of all big cities, And we just want to show that Chicago is not all violence. There's a sunset or a sunrise, if you will, like over the lake.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, I haven't. The only time I've seen Chicago in like a very pretty light was this FX show called The League.
Yeah,
that was based in Chicago. I was like super. It's a white show, so it's like very lighthearted. It showed Chicago in a very like you said, very humanized way. It's just like another big city, So
yeah. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, guys? Man, only in the TV show was Chicago painted in the light and good, man. That's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, so that's the thing, man. We're trying to bring people through to Chicago, and the more people that come here and that bring love and culture and more art, and fuck yeah, that's what we're all about, bridging communities. Okay, so Alan, we're gonna wrap this up. What one bit of advice you would like to leave our listeners today?
I think one advice I would give is to just keep your head up, and in the midst of chaos. Don't listen to too many opinions. Find out your own truth and come up with your own understanding of how things work, instead of going with the mob mentality. And don't ever give up, even when it feels like things are never going your way. That's my takeaway.
For sure.
That's actually really beautiful. I like that a lot.
Thanks, man. I just made it up.
And
hey, man. End quote right there, man. Patent pending.
Yep.
There you go. All right. So again, Alan, we just want to thank you for coming on and just kind of like sharing your story and kind of like our thoughts and our opinions on certain topics and subjects. It was really enlightening for me at least, on a lot of topics that we kind of brushed over. And that said, Vince, you want to close us out?
Yeah, sure. So, to our listeners and viewers, thank you guys so much for tuning in. You can always find us on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that, on the TheEatingCast at TheEatingCast. Yeah, Alan, you want to plug anything? Where can people find you?
Yeah, so you guys can find me at Alan Z Music. That's ALANZ Music. And you can find all my music on all streaming platforms. That's YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, Tidal, etc., under Alan Z. That's ALAN, first name, and then my last initial Z.
For sure. Cool.
Awesome. All right. So again, Alan, we just want to thank you for just taking a little bit of your day and just kind of hanging out with us and talking. And for our viewers and our listeners, we just want to thank you guys for stopping by, and we will catch you guys in the next one. Take care and bye-bye.
Bye.